It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm your host. I'm also one of the certified financial planners on the program. And with me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory.
Do you have a plan for getting the most benefit from your 401k plan? For many of you, the 401k is your greatest wealth building tool. So today we're going to be sharing our strategies for your 401k in the early, middle, and late stages of your career. We're going to cover that and more on today's episode.
Not surprising, but a headline. We've now set another record for the most 401k millionaires ever in history. And no surprising, because oftentimes you should have those dollars invested in the markets, and markets behave a certain way. They make all-time highs, they retreat from those all-time highs, and then they go on to make new all-time highs. And so it's not a surprise, but listen, you want to be there. This is your greatest wealth building tool, so you want to use it appropriately. We're going to help you with that. If you have a question for the program or need some help, we're here for you. Give us a call, send us a text, 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000 online. WiseMoneyShow.com is where you can find us and reach out to us that way as well. Or find us on social media, wherever you're at. We are there as well. Search The Wise Money Show. So, okay, Kevin, let's get this phrasing right.
Yeah.
Your 401k is your greatest wealth building tool?
Nope. It's actually your most powerful wealth building tool.
Did you catch the difference?
It's yes. So if we're being precise, but it is, for most people, the most powerful tool they're going to have to accumulate wealth, because you say, where do I compound and accumulate wealth? And for most of us, we don't have the discipline. I remember being early in my career and looking at all of the clients I was serving, and I thought, and you know, when you're younger and idealistic and you don't know anything, you think, well, what's wrong with these people? The only way they can save any money is in their retirement plan. And then I got 5 years into my career, and the only money I had saved was in my retirement plan.
They are brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, here's a big idea. How do you build wealth? You have assets. Okay, wait a second. How do you have assets? Well, you earn money and then use it to buy assets. You don't spend it. And these tax shelters that's where you can direct some of that income into assets. The hardest working assets for most of us will be ownership in companies, the world's greatest enterprises, i.e. stocks. And so diverting some of that income before it gets to you into a retirement plan. Now, of your choices, the 401k has the biggest contribution limits, and it has another superpower. You can contribute to it before the money lands in your bank account. So this is the pay yourself first sort of approach.
It makes it easy, right? And if it's easy, it's more likely to actually happen. I remember, I don't know, I need to come up with my story, get my story straight, and then repeat it often. But maybe it wasn't my very first day at Korhorn Financial Group, but I remember, Kevin, you saying the way to build wealth is really simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it. It's live on less than you earn and invest the difference. Mm-hmm. You do that for a long time, and you're going to accumulate a lot of dollars in accounts that hopefully are tax sheltered, hopefully are growing really well outside of Uncle Sam's reach and outside even of your own reach along the way, your own temptation to spend. And the 401k makes all of that easy.
Yeah.
It allows you to make a wise choice early in your career to just get into the habit, the pattern of saving, and then that part goes on autopilot, right? You get to the point where you've forgotten that you've even earned those dollars. You're used to just living off of, budgeting off of your take-home pay. So make sure your take-home pay isn't bigger than it should be. Make sure that you're not living off more of your income than you ought to, so that the 70-year-old you someday has plenty to live off of.
So here's the idea. Your 401k, how should you be using, what should your 401k strategy be? Okay. And your 401k strategy, you probably never heard that idea before, but how you use your 401k, it's going to impact all 6 areas of your financial life, all of them. Without, like, directly, okay? So present financial position, yes. Josh was just talking about your cash flow, your take-home. The more you direct from your income to your 401k, the lower your take-home pay is going to be. You need to have a disciplined cash flow plan and make sure that things are in balance. That's present financial position. Protection planning, that is, how you handle life's biggest risks. Well, the more you save up in assets, the more self-insured you are. Also out there in the future. So meaning the more protected you are in case something unfortunate happens. And also in retirement, you're going to have to pay for health insurance, Medicare, and those sorts of things. How you save up in your 401k is going to influence how much you pay for your Medicare via IRMA. Tax planning, obviously, that's the third area of your financial life. Should you be contributing pre-tax or Roth? Should you do Roth conversions? Fourth area, how are you going to invest these dollars? Investment planning. That's what most people think about. 401k, they think investment. No, that's way more than that, but that's the fourth area. Your retirement planning is the fifth area. And knowing how much you need to be saving into your 401k so that you're on track for retirement, and then make wise decisions on how you invest it, how you use it, how you draw money from it in retirement. That's an enormous part of your 401k strategy, retirement planning. And then the sixth area of your financial life, estate planning. If something happens to you, who's going to receive these dollars? And having the right beneficiaries, updating those beneficiaries, being aware of the taxation of these dollars for those beneficiaries, all of that needs to be part of your plan. Without a doubt, and not indirectly, your 401k touches every single part of your financial life. Therefore, it's a head scratcher to us how so many people can be using your 401k plan, their 401k plan, without a comprehensive financial plan. They're unseparatable. Mm-hmm. You need to be working with your CFP, looking at all 6 areas of your financial life and having those decisions kind of lead into how you're going to use your 401k.
Yeah, and if right now you're at a point in your life where it's just not working for you to be able to contribute to the 401k, or it feels out of reach, I would encourage you to not settle into that groove and let a bunch of years go by where you're not utilizing the 401k. Don't be like those who say, well, there's no company match available to me, so therefore I'm not going to use this thing. No, all of those powerful reasons that Mike and Kevin have already laid out, they are the reason why the 401k should often be kind of the centerpiece of your game plan for building a retirement nest egg that you'll be able to live off of someday.
Yeah. So if early in your career, cheer the market down. When you get in, cheer the market down. You want to buy this stuff on sale. Mm-hmm. You want it to be low, and you want to be able to sell it high someday. So when the market goes down and everyone's kind of panicking, just be excited that you're getting a 20% off, 30% off, whatever the discount is. You're getting a discount buying the best companies in the world and for the long term.
It reminds me of also early in my career. The first 2.5 years of my career, the market went down.
You broke it.
I know. I felt like I single-handedly had just wrecked it for everybody. But I got into the habit of, one way, it was almost the silver lining. When the market was down on a given day, I would go check and see, well, maybe my contributions that I had pulled out of my paycheck and went into the 401k, maybe they landed here today. Maybe I bought at a low point. But no, you are accumulating more shares, and that's actually a discipline that you may need to. This isn't a Jedi mind trick. This is you focusing on the things that matter most. When you are in contribution mode in that 401k, when you're on autopilot and dripping money into that account every single pay period, watch and see how many shares of those mutual funds that you're buying, how many shares are you accumulating? Mm-hmm. Don't just watch the dollar amount, because the dollar amount's going to fluctuate as the value of the mutual funds go up and down. This is not like your bank account where a smaller dollar amount means that money just went down the drain. I've lost it. It's gone forever. No, you own something still that happens to be down in value today, but it doesn't mean it will be a year from now. It certainly doesn't mean that it will be a decade from now.
Yep. Yep.
When you go to spend this money in retirement, that's when those shares will have hopefully matured and blossomed into something that you can be very grateful for.
So there it is. We're going to hit your 401k strategy, how you should view your 401k early in your career, and then middle of your career, and then late in your career. We're already sharing, Josh, Kevin, we're sharing some ways to approach it. We're going to break that down. Early in your career, mid, and late, what are your 401k strategies? So we've got all that and more coming up here on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. What you're watching right now is our weekly 1-hour talk show that airs right here on this channel, 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Saturday morning, also on podcast at the same time, but also on a couple local radio stations as well, which is why the content's broken up the way that it is. It's as long as it is, and there's segments and all that sort of stuff. But right here on this channel, we have well over 1,000 videos, next wise step videos that take one financial concept, apply it directly to your financial life from a comprehensive financial planning perspective. How does this issue or this strategy connect with all areas of your financial life and then help you take your next wise step in your financial life? So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you're made aware every time we drop new content. If you like the content, leave questions as well. We appreciate it. All right.
Okay, so are we going to finish the early?
We haven't even started the early. You started it, but I never even opened it up. I never even said that's what we're doing.
Mikey B.
You just went there.
Okay, well,
which I'm fine with.
You're pitching a 29-mile-an-hour fastball here.
Very effective.
Okay.
Very
It'd be
effective.
hard to hit.
Yeah. You're timed up for 60. You're 65. That's right. All right. Here we go.
Let's hit it.
That was a foul bunt.
No, a foul bunt is unseparatable.
I said that.
I know.
Yeah, it's good.
That
use.
is foul use of the English language.
Yeah,
you need to
Inseparable maybe would be the word.
inseparable, inextricable, indivisible. There are lots of great words that we could use. But
Unseparable.
unseparatable
Is that
Yes.
what it was?
word.
Yeah. Just own it. Just go with it.
I am.
I think you need to work it into every segment
I will.
of the show.
And
Listen,
I will be planful
Listen.
to make sure it's there.
Well, I'll be at the Bernard household tonight at 6 when the homework's on the kitchen table, and we will work on grammar tonight, Mike.
We'll be working on our bunts instead, actually. All right, here we go. Early in your career, how do you use your 401k? What's the right strategy so that you don't fall into the trap that so many people do, and that is, I wish I'd have started sooner. We're helping with that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Stay up to date on all Wise Money content. Find us online, wisemoneyshow.com. Then all over social media, wherever you're at, we are there as well. Search the Wise Money Show. Okay, so what's your 401k strategy? We already talked about how that 401k, how you use it, it's going to touch all 6 areas of your financial life. So what's the right approach? When you're early in your career, you need to be treating it or approaching it a certain way, okay? And I just want to open it up for, hey, how would you use it in the early stages of your career?
For sure, in the early stages of my career, I would cheer the market down. I once heard a wise man say that. But the one of the most important decisions that I'm going to make in my financial life is what is my asset allocation. So I need to determine how do I do it. If it's $1, then I may want to just start with a target date fund and go out as far as I possibly can. I'm not a huge fan of target date funds, but it's a good place to start, and it's going to give you a great exposure, broad exposure to the broader markets. You don't know. The reason why the 401k works well for passive investing is you don't know in any given year which 7 or 8 stocks are going to carry the entire market. And so you don't want to have a strategy where you're trying to bet on which 7 or 8 stocks it's going to be. You likely want to own the market. And the financial instruments that are available to you today are pretty spectacular and inexpensive for you to own the entire index or the entire market or what have you. So I would look at my asset allocation, but I think the most important thing is what should I do? Should I do it pre-tax? Should I do it after tax? Or should I do it Roth? And the thing that I've always thought about for someone who's getting their first job, and it matters because when I looked at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, statistically, if I started working at 22 and I retired at 65, I'm going to have somewhere between 8 to 14 different jobs. So if you think about that, if I'm going to, depending on my career, if I'm going to have 8 to 14 different jobs, if I'm early in my career and I've moved to a location that I might not be there my entire life, what I may want to do is either do after tax or Roth, because when I leave that job, I might be early enough in my career, and this is going to sound horrible, but I might need to cash that money out to finance something. And if it's after tax money, I'm not getting punished to cash that money out. I know that that tends to fly in the face of conventional wisdom, but I've always thought it wouldn't hurt my feelings to have something as a fallback, especially if I'm not able to build a 3 bank account system fully outside. And so just get a few $1,000s in that after tax or that Roth account to say, hey, now I've got my cushion. Now I'm not going to have to pay 25% to the credit card company in the event something bad happens and I have to move home, or fill in the blank. And so that is the unconventional wisdom of the day. But I like that. And I would say be prepared to do 8 to 14 different moves of this money. So this money's going to go from 401k. Does it go from 401k to 401k? Does it go from 401k to IRA? Does it go to 401k to IRA back to 401k? There's all kinds of possibilities, but statistically, most folks have 2 or 3 different 401ks laying around out there. They're not coordinated. They're not working together. So I would say just resolve, when I leave my job, I'm not leaving the money behind.
Yeah. You start accumulating a number of little accounts at former employers, and it has less meaning sometimes in your mind. And so the temptation to just cash it in, it's just a couple grand. I have this need over here. Why not just liquidate this? And as opposed to each time you change employers, however often that is, if you take your dollars with you and you roll them into an IRA, or you have some sort of consolidating account, you do watch that balance grow. You watch it become more and more significant, and you see the power of allowing it to continue to grow uninterrupted. That's why I think early on in your career, one of the most important things that you are really working on and what you're building are habits before the balances really take shape.
Yeah.
The habits are what matter the most. And what are the things that you can put in place to protect yourself from getting in and grabbing those dollars, either for an emergency or for just a fun idea that you came up with? To me, there's 3 things that you could put in place to help protect yourself from that temptation. One is make sure that you are choosing investments that you can stomach the ups and downs of the roller coaster ride that you're on, that you won't, become so upset because of a market swing that you just want to cash this thing in or move it to the sidelines, move it to safety, that kind of thing, just because you just can't handle the ups and the downs. Part of your role early on in your career as an investor is just getting comfortable with the natural ebb and flow of the market, that it is not ending your retirement hopes and dreams just because the market's down in a given year. So you're learning, you're building that habit. Also, Kevin referenced this, the preferred, more conventional wisdom would say, well, yeah, you do want to have an emergency fund in place so that your retirement account isn't the first place that you have to go when life rocks your boat. Mm-hmm. Have a safety net before you get down to those long-term assets. And to me, that is not just having an emergency fund, but having a true functioning budget as well. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you have the right amount of margin in your financial life so that you don't have to stop the contributions. That habit of remaining in steady contribution mode for years, really decades, that's something that is only doable if you have really total control of your cash flow and you can absorb the swings in your expenses and don't have to shut off your contributions every time something new tries to squeeze into your financial life.
Yeah, I can completely agree, especially, Kevin, if those statistics are right, that you're going to switch jobs that many times. We've done a show on this before, but that creates gaps in your retirement funding. Potentially, because when you switch from one job to another, you're not eligible to start contributing right away, and all of a sudden you've got 6 months where you've lived on a new budget, and now you've got to restart your 401k contributions, and you've missed out on company match, and you multiply that times 8 times throughout your career. That's a lot of a lot of gaps in your retirement planning. So finding a way to make sure that you're consistent throughout your retirement or throughout your career as much as possible. Absolutely, that's the right habit. I would actually tell you the habit of not looking at your investments that much.
Yeah.
Josh started with making sure that when you do, during volatile times, you're looking at the number of shares. Absolutely, that's a little life hack. That if you do get that 401k statement during some market volatility, look at the shares, not the value. I would just build the habit of not looking at your 401k. I just wouldn't do it early in your career. Again, you're building habits that will shape things in the future. If Kevin, you mentioned before we started recording that, there's a chance if you focus on your 401k too much, if you handle it too much, it could be like a bar of soap that it will disappear. And if you tune into it, oh, the market's up today, let me check my 401k. Oh, the market's down today. I don't want to look at my 401k. Nah, I would just build the habit of being disciplined and not focusing on it.
Yeah, one of the most helpful things that I heard early on was, look, the market's going to move in 20-year cycles, so don't try to anticipate, just participate.
Yeah, and that leads to one other thing that I would share before we transition to kind of middle stage of your career, and that is, we talked about making sure that you're picking investments that you can stomach. Find a way to stomach the market.
Yeah.
I mean, so because we see a lot of times right now, people might be entering their first job, entering a career, and they might hear in the news or in social media, oh, the wild swings, the market's unstable, we might hit a recession, all this, and all of that can spook you into thinking, I shouldn't take a lot of risk. That's the single biggest financial decision you're going to make, is how you should invest these dollars. And if right away you think, I don't want to take a lot of risk, then you're not going to be able to participate in the markets for these hardest working dollars, the ones that you contribute early in your career. So I'd have a bias towards being aggressive with your asset allocation. All right, more 401k strategies, that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Okay, so we didn't say make sure early on you're at least capturing the company match.
We didn't say that.
You're right. We did or didn't?
We did not.
I didn't think we did. So that probably needs to be said as well. And I mean, the perfect example was when Josh was at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina, and they were getting these guys signed up en masse for the TSP, and they said, well, here's what you should do. Do 5% of your pay in the government bond fund. Right? And that's quite possibly the world's worst piece of advice ever in the piece of advice program. I mean, it's terrible.
There could be someone out there saying, you don't even want to save into that. Yeah, that might be a little bit worse.
Well, yeah, they might say, I'm not saving into that. They're not putting anything in for me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm all about cutting off my nose.
All right.
To spite my face.
Third segment, we'll start with that, and then we'll go right into middle of your career. So, and I can hit it, and then I'll tee us up for middle of your career. So, what's your 401k strategy? Most people don't think of it like that, but it is your greatest wealth building tool or most powerful wealth building tool, depending on who you talk to. So, what are the strategies to use it for its greatest potential? We're hitting that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on podcast. Wherever you listen, you just search the Wise Money Show. Subscribe to it there. Follow us there. Rate the program as well. We appreciate it. So we're talking about 401k strategy. It touches all 6 areas of your financial life and giving you ideas or an approach to take early in your career with your 401k, middle of your career, and then late in your career. Last couple things, and I would argue maybe the most important way to approach your 401k early in your career or think about your 401k strategy is how much to contribute. I mean, I don't know how we went through a whole segment talking about ideas without hitting that one. Early in your career, you are likely starting your life. You're thinking about buying a house maybe and buying a new car and all sorts of things. You've maybe got student loans you're figuring out or maybe starting a family, all sorts of pulls on your cash flow. Prioritize, and honestly, before I get into it, retirement might be the farthest thing from your mind. How can I think about retirement? I've got real life to attend to right now. No. Contribute, make contributing towards your 401k, towards your retirement a priority. Do at least enough to get the full company match. We've talked about this before. We'll say it again. That's not the maximum you should contribute. That's the minimum. The minimum you should be contributing is at least enough to get the full company match, but then do as much as you possibly can. Set that habit like Josh was talking about. I would like to say start at 15% and live on what's left, but build the habit of contributing aggressively a lot towards your 401k.
That's exactly right. And if 15% is out of reach early on in your career, maybe you have some student loans or a car loan or some other consumer debt or something. At the very least, make sure you're getting the company match because this represents a boost to your retirement savings that someone else is participating in your plan, right? Your goal is being supported by your employer. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. But then also go to work trying to eliminate the competition for these retirement dollars. Every time that you have a loan in place, it is a monthly obligation that yes, you have to do when times are good and when times are bad, but it also is money that you can't be contributing to your retirement. So when these loans get paid off, you're freeing up capacity to get the savings up to that level of 15% or more, whatever the right level is based on your 5-factor retirement plan. Save the right amount, be working towards, striving towards getting rid of the cash flow demands that are preventing you from getting there.
Okay, so early in your career, you're likely not starting off by building a 5-factor retirement plan. But that's a great segue, Josh. I would start aggressively, save as much as you can, but by the middle of your career, if we pivot there, what should your 401k strategy be? It's then recalibrating how much you're contributing so that it is in alignment with that 5-factor retirement plan. By the time you're in your 30s, definitely by 40s, you should have built out your first 5-factor retirement plan and then updating it on an ongoing basis to see, well, I'm contributing 15%. Is that enough? Do I need to contribute a little bit more? Could I afford to contribute a little bit less if I've got other priorities in my financial life? Recalibrating, realigning your contribution amount so that it's in line with your financial plan. That is, I would say, the first thing that comes to mind when I think 401k strategy, middle of my career.
Can we point out, too, this is a little bit of a misconception. A lot of people don't give a ton of thought to this. If you have two spouses that are both working and earning, and one is contributing 15% of their pay, and the other one's contributing nothing, then as a household, you're not contributing 15%, and you may be under accumulating for your retirement. Now, there may be a good reason. Again, there may be demands on your cash flow. You're saving all that you possibly can, whatever, that's fine. But recognize that there's still some striving to do. There's still some reaching or some expanding your contributions that you could be doing if one spouse is contributing and the other one isn't. I would encourage you to be thinking about 15% of the total household income going into your long-term savings like retirement. And if you can live off the remaining 85%, and create your spending plan off of that, you're setting yourself up to have some pretty powerful margin, powerful dollars that can be going to whatever the most important goal is. Could be funding kids' education, could be eliminating debt, could be building for retirement. Maybe you hope to have a vacation house someday. None of that is achievable unless you build up the right amount of margin in your cash flow. And 15% is a rule of thumb. It may or may not be the right amount for you.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you want to be thinking about, this is mid and even late career, so I don't want to get into late career yet, Mike. But in your mid career, I would encourage you to determine what is the 401k or 403b or whatever retirement plan you have. What is it going to be used for? Because I'm the one that said early in your career it could be used as a backstop. You're no longer in backstop territory. This is full on. This is going to have to provide retirement security to you. And so you want to make sure, again, I'm getting as many doubles out of this thing as I can. And I've stopped getting doubles out of it due to my contributions because likely the amount is so big. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, the current events, and I like to keep an eye on these things, Tim Walz took $135,000 out of his retirement plan last year to pay for his daughter's college. Now, this even saying that makes me realize, so that is reason number 792. I would never want to go into politics because who wants their life, including their financial life, scrutinized like that? But I think it's illustrative of the point that what is the purpose for your retirement plan? Because if I took an early withdrawal and I have to pay taxes on that plus a 10% penalty. And that is some pretty expensive money. Now, I'm assuming that he's got a great financial plan and everything works, and so it wasn't as detrimental as it might seem. But when you say that out loud and you think, I've worked with other folks who didn't prepare for their kids' education, got right up to it and said, we haven't prepared, we're taking money out of the retirement plan.
Right.
And so I would kind of steel my resolve to say this money is for retirement only, and keep it segregated. And if you need to do something for the education piece, figure that out. But and for sure, if you're mid-career, likely your little children are sprouting up, and they might be moving faster than you are realizing towards education. So make sure that the two plans can work together.
Yeah, you start getting squeezed in your cash flow at this stage of life, don't you? There's just there's more competition for your retirement savings, so it might be tempting to slow down or to pause your contributions, or as Kevin was saying, to raid the cookie jar. Don't have what I need for this short-term goal, and therefore I'm going to raid the long-term money to help fund it. The other thing that could be happening at this stage in your career, kind of the middle of your career, you're probably starting to earn more money than early on. Hopefully you've had some advances and there's just more income, which means you may have a little bit more complexity in your tax picture. Paying attention to the tax ramifications of how you're saving into your 401k is important. Early in your career, you may want to really favor that Roth contribution if it's available to you, because you have so many years, you have decades for that money to grow tax-free. And it's incredibly powerful. You also, early in your career, you may be in a lower tax bracket, so it's not that much of a sacrifice to pay the tax now and then put the money into the retirement account. But the opposite could start to become true if you get into some of your peak earning years, or you get into years where there are some tax credits available to you, but you're on the verge of being phased out of them. Mm-hmm. And if all of a sudden those Roth contributions are not helping you as much because they're making you ineligible for some tax credits, flipping over to pre-tax, a more traditional 401k contribution, might help you squeeze your income back down into range, and all of a sudden there's some of these credits available to you. So tax planning at this point in your career becomes more and more important, and you need to make sure you're engaging that with your certified financial planner.
Possibly considering mega backdoor Roth as well. That's a strategy within your 401k. We've talked about it, where you're contributing pre-tax or Roth up to the maximum, but then contributing after tax as well. Middle of your career, income high, time to consider that as well. We've got more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. All right.
Is there any more that we need to hit on mid, or are we going to move into?
No,
late?
I mean, we've touched on it a couple of times, but the temptation to reduce risk. We didn't hit that for middle of your career. It's definitely a temptation, and maybe we could start with that one and have that kind of be the segue into late stage of your career. So, all right, fourth segment, landing the plane.
So, what's our
late stage of your career?
okay?
We ready?
Dude, I'm waiting on you.
Okay. All right.
Seriously, come on.
Here we go. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show, as well as a lot of other content, is right here on this YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Not only every talk show that you're listening to right now is posted here, but lots of other content, Next Wise Step videos. They air all throughout the work week. So make sure you go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show, subscribe to it there. All right, we're talking about having the right 401k strategy, and oftentimes that 401k strategy can shift throughout your career. Early in your career, don't look at it. Contribute as much as you can. Make sure you get the full company match. Have an aggressive allocation. Don't look at it. And bias towards Roth, because those dollars are going to be growing tax-free. Middle of your career, the idea is make sure that you recalibrate how much you're contributing so that it's in alignment with your retirement plan, with your 5-factor retirement plan. Make sure you've got the right investment mix. Make sure that as you have other goals, like maybe upgrading the house or getting a bigger house or helping the kids with college, they don't infringe on your 401k. It's now time to protect those dollars and make sure that you get as many doubles with them as possible. As I said, though, as this account is growing, there's now more propensity in the middle of your career to start being emotionally charged by the fluctuations in the market. And just a couple of years ago, 2022, we saw the market basically grind lower from the very first trading day of the year, January, all the way until the end of October. And had a lot of people saying, well, I contributed $1,000 to my 401k and it dropped by 10 grand. That money's just down the drain. I'm going to stop contributing to my 401k until things are safer, until times are better. No, your 401k statement is not like your bank account statement. When your balance goes down in your bank account, that means you spent the money. It's gone. Not in your 401k. Not in your 401k. Focus on the shares that you have, not the overall account value or the value of those shares. So the temptation is there in the middle of your career to make big swings to your asset allocation depending on what's happening in the market. Don't fall for that temptation. Don't overreact to market changes. As we start shifting to late stage of your career, how to handle your 401k, that temptation grows even more.
That's right. I mean, the emotions of investing, they fluctuate throughout your entire career, but at least in your middle part of your career, you can train your mind to think differently about fluctuations in the market. Right? When the market is down, you can remind yourself regularly, okay, I'm buying more shares because they're cheaper right now. Everything's on sale. I'm going to load up now. Rather than slowing my contributions, I might do what I can to increase my contributions. That gets harder and harder for a lot of investors as they get closer to retirement, because a fluctuation down, a fall in the market close to retirement feels like my dreams of retirement are just going up in smoke here.
I'm not going to be able to retire if I continue to lose money. That's the thought.
That's right. And you can kind of take what you're seeing in the market on any given day and project it out to some infinite degree, and you say, boy, if I keep losing at this pace, I'm going to be completely broke by next fall.
Yeah.
And that's not how the markets work. And hopefully, if you've been a student along the way, you understand, I guess, that these things, this isn't your first bear market, late in your career. It's not going to be the last one that you live through in retirement either. And so swinging to a very conservative stance right on the eve of retirement, or as you're getting closer to retirement, can sometimes be a mistake, because you're not allowing your investments to continue to stay in growth mode even as you go into retirement. you're going to live hopefully decades in retirement. That's a long time horizon. And so you're still going to be experiencing the ups and the downs even into retirement. And so preparing yourself emotionally or mentally is really important. And this is also, you, by definition, by the time you get late in your or in your career, you have the largest account balances that you've ever had, right? You've watched this nest egg continue to grow. Your life savings is really amounting to a substantial amount. And I think it's important to make sure that not only do you have a financial advisor who's, flying the plane with you, they are a co-pilot with you, helping you to not just make wise investment choices as you get closer to retirement, but they help you manage the emotions as well.
Yep.
So make sure that you're not walking, especially this late stage of your career, alone, because the transition from career into retirement can be a treacherous one, mostly because our emotions cause us to make a lot of mistakes at this stage. Your financial advisor is there to help avoid those.
I don't like turbulence on my airplane.
No, you don't.
I
I've been
don't.
on planes with
I
you.
don't. I'll tell you, but the worst time to experience that turbulence is when you're trying to land. Have you ever tried to land at Chicago Midway? Like the Windy City, I'll just say that, where it looks like you're going to land on the top of a couple roofs, and you're dealing with turbulence. Not fun. I'm going to want an experienced co-pilot there with me, right, navigating that turbulence. So it's inevitable. Like there's no way you can say, all right, well, I'm picking my flight from wherever I live to wherever my destination. Let me go pick the one where I'm not going to have turbulence. It's not possible. So you want to have the right co-pilot with you. And yeah, so connecting to another late in your career 401k strategy, be aggressive with your contributions.
Yep.
Be aggressive with your contributions. Number one, save as much as you possibly can. I mean that aggressive because these are the last times you'll be able to save into this tax shelter. So use it as much as you can. But second, even if it makes sense to rebalance your entire 401k to make it a little bit lower risk, as you start envisioning how you'll use these dollars in retirement, have your new contributions go aggressively so that you can benefit from dollar cost averaging, geek speak, for buying more shares when there's market turbulence, when those shares temporarily go down in value. So stay aggressive with your contributions. I would also say late in your career, we've been talking about it all show, but if you get to this point in your career and you look and you say, yeah, I don't have a lot of tax diversification. This might be your final few years to create some tax diversification. Here's an example. Early in our career, it was very common for folks to show up at retirement with maybe a full 401k or maybe $1 million or so saved up for retirement. That's all pre-tax. So there's no choice. Mm-hmm. When you're supplementing Social Security, it's going to be taxable. You need to take extra money out to do a renovation on the house, it's going to be taxable. You have no choice. But late in your career, you might be showing up where the only thing you've done is pre-tax contributions. Maybe you should start doing some Roth. Maybe there's some of you listening right now that say, nah, by the time I get late stage in my career, I'm going to have converted everything. It's all going to be Roth. Then maybe you should be doing pre-tax at that point, so that you, in these high earning years, you can get a big tax deduction that out there in the future, you'll be able to use for charitable contributions or draw out to capture some of your standard deduction. So make sure that you have tax diversification. And guys, while I'm just going here, one more, we haven't talked about it yet, but it actually is something you've got to be aware of with your 401k throughout your career. And that is updating beneficiaries.
Yes.
And by the time you're late stage of your career, hopefully you've had one marriage, you might have had a couple, and you're going to want to make sure that you update those beneficiaries. But more importantly, or as importantly, I should say, your young children are likely now adult children. And so updating the beneficiaries, either listing those kids as primary or as contingent beneficiaries, you didn't do that at the beginning of your career, maybe even middle of your career. But now, later in your career, that's when you're going to want to make sure that that's updated.
And the other thing, this might be late in your career. If you're still working and you say, listen, the company's going to keep me on the payroll and I can keep working, one tax strategy might be to stay on the payroll beyond your required minimum distribution age, because if you are on the payroll and you're active in the 401k, Well, I'm just saying if you're working and you got
Yeah.
a 401k, you don't have to roll that out and you don't have to take required minimum distributions.
From your 401k, that's right.
From
If
your
you
401k.
if you have an IRA or whatever, you would still need to. But yeah, late stage in your career, you're thinking about how you're going to use these dollars. You're thinking about tax planning and planning for RMD out there in the future.
You know, throughout my entire career, there's never been a mile marker along the way that has told me you are leaving early stage, now you're in mid stage. When are you going to reach late stage? You know, the strategies, they change throughout your entire working career, and your certified financial planner, the financial planning process is there to help you identify what do I need to be utilizing right now at this stage, at this year, to help me be ready for those long-term goals. So make sure that you are reaching out to your certified financial planner if you don't have one, and we'd be happy to help connect you with one if you're in the search.
Yeah, great. All right, that's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Josh Gregory, Kevin Korhorn, all of us at Korhorn Financial Group, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.